Hello everyone, Damon Caskey here with what I hope will be a handy tutorial for you. I am going to walk through extracting Photoshop animation frames into individual files, which you may then use for your projects, be they OpenBOR or even other engines or maybe even non-game type things that you want to work on. So as you can see here, I have my original project open, and this is the character Valis Jan, and he's walking around, and that's all well and good, but I want to replace these walk frames. So we're going to close this module here. And this is the animation that you were looking at just a moment ago in Photoshop. And it works, that's all well and good. The problem is that I much prefer the Capcom versus SNK or CVS for short style artwork, which, just to show you what that looks like, I've got an example here of Ken, and in the CVS style, the reason that I like it is the light source is a little more complex. It's not just from your viewpoint, but also a little bit from overhead, and some of the colors are devoted into breaking up the banding. So what you get is an anti-alias effect, and so you lose a little bit of detail, but you get a very high contrast, very smooth, very clean look that I much prefer over SNK's more fresco style. Unfortunately, when I drew my sprite, I pretty much replicated the SNK style by mistake, and that isn't what I want. So I have redrawn that to more closely approximate the CVS style, and I want to put that in my game. So how to do it? Well, if you were to try and use the built-in Photoshop tool, export layers to files, well, what you would get is a big mess because Valis, like most sprites, is drawn in multiple layers. I mean, I can show you here by taking away the sword layer. Actually, my face is probably in the way of that, so let's move the layers out here where you can see it. So you can see there's the sword, the sheath front, the cape. I can even move the pauldron. I can even take the tabard off, and you can see the detail on his armor underneath. Even take away parts of his body if I wanted. And if you don't draw your sprites that way, you should, because it's a huge time saver down the road. But that's a tutorial for another day. Point being is we can't just extract the layers to files, not unless we want to spend the next 10 years scripting together meta sprites. So what we will do instead is render a video, and then we will take those sprites that result from the video render and place those into the module. Here is how. First, we highlight the first or the last frame of the animation, it doesn't really matter, and hold shift and click the opposite end, and that gets us a highlight of all of them. Then we select 1 second for our delay. Now that is very important, it must be 1 second. Then we're going to go to File and Export, only this time we're going to choose Render Video. Now of course we want to give it a name. I'm going to use walk underscore, and then Photoshop will add the digits. It will be it will be starting at 0, which is what I want. So we'll have walk underscore 0, walk underscore 1, 2, 3, and so on. Obviously you want to pick a folder. In my case, I have an export folder just for dumping stuff like this. And then the frame rate is also important. You want to choose a custom frame rate, and I've already set it here, and that frame rate needs to be 1 frame per second. And you've probably figured out by now why we wanted 1 second as the delay in our animation. That's going to get us a 1-to-1 frame to file. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it render. We've got, format ping. Don't worry about the settings, that doesn't really matter, just use ping. And that's it, the files are created. So if I go over here to my working file folder, you can see there are my walk frames. Now we're not quite done yet because Photoshop just basically used whatever palette it so felt like, and we need to apply a singular palette. So we go to Plumbo's Palette Apply tool, and we make sure that we are setting up a batch. The input directory is going to be, let's back up here, Quest work files, Valis Production Exports. That's the file that I exported those files to, or folder that I exported those files to. we are going to export ping files. The output directory is going to be the same, so I'm going to overwrite these guys. And then for the palette, I need to go to Valus's palette, data cares, Valus, and his base palette. Now, not the default, but the base palette, which is the same color separation that you saw at work in Photoshop, just uniform. So I'm going to choose that. I'm going to choose convert and yes to all because I do want to rewrite them. And that's it. These files are ready to go. So let's highlight them, grab them, move them into Valus's folder, data, cares. You can see all these leftover folders where I'm using example module to test with, tabard. Paste over top the existing walk frames. And I don't have to, but I'm going to have a look at it in Chrono Crash Modders Tools. You can see the old animation. Sorry, reload sprites, and that'll get us the new. I'm sorry, the new animation was already there. But there's, you can see the new animation in progress. And now let's go over to the module. Open it up. And you can see there are the new frames. Now, obviously, there is some work to do on them. Some of the shading is a little wonky, and I need to fix that. But again, that's not really what the tutorial is about. I just want to show you how quick and easy it is to export those animations and get them into your module. Now, all of these tools that I used, the Chrono Crash modules tools, which isn't even part of the tutorial, but it's something you really need if you're making OpenBR modules, and Plumbo's PalApply tool are available in chronocrash.com, which I will leave in the video description. I assume most of you are already from Chrono Crash. Leave me a message in the forum, post one of the threads if you have any questions, and I will try to get to you. Thanks everyone, and we will see you next time.